So I'm a physiologist. I love studying the human body. I work with Olympic athletes, special forces, soldiers like that, those types of people to reach elite levels of human performance, but I also study health and well-being. So what I try to do is figure out how did that shift occur so I can help more people feel like this coming out of a global pandemic. So ultimately, like, this is what I want to have happen right now, the shift that I'm looking for. And it's super important because the data shows us that it's a rough time right now. So I'm a researcher, I'm a scientist, so I build everything off data. This is data from The Lancet published recently that shows that there's a significant increase pre and post-pandemic, dotted lines pre-pandemic, solid lines post-pandemic in both anxiety and depression across the age span, numbers that are significantly worse than for women and for men. So we have a lot of work to do. And I believe, I'm very hopeful actually, that we can actually make a shift out of feeling like this. And when I saw this happening so much about 18 months ago, as a physiologist, I was like, okay, so what's happening here? What is this moment? Fatigue, exhaustion, burnout, right? And so many people can identify with that now for themselves, their teammates, their families, their loved ones. So as a physiologist, I look at that and I'm like, that is a lack of energy, I think, ultimately. We just spent all of our energy, we're out. Where does energy come from? Well, if we go inside the human body, we learn that the human body produces energy using these little tiny structures called mitochondria. Please don't run out of the door. I know that's from grade 10 bio, maybe not a great experience for you, but I'm a physiologist, I love this stuff, so bear with me. Mitochondria are fascinating because they break down the foods that you eat to create energy. So what's the problem? We don't have enough energy, therefore we need to look at mitochondria. And when we look at mitochondria, we discover that they're involved in almost everything. About 2 billion years ago, single-celled organisms began to emerge, and about 1.6 billion years ago, something super interesting happened, which determined the course of all life on this planet. And that was there was two types of cells that existed at the time. One broke down sugars for energy, the other one used oxygen to create energy. The sugar-burning one ate the oxygen-burning one. And instead of eating it and digesting it and destroying it, they began to work together. And because that new organism could use sugar and oxygen, it had a massive advantage. And that led to the proliferation of that type of organism. And that is now found in every single type of life on this planet, except some bacteria. But like plants, humans, even teenagers all have a combination. I have one of those now, so it's a whole new life form I've got to figure out. But all of those organisms that led to a proliferation of life all over the planet all have mitochondria in them, which is super interesting. Now, they still have their own genetics, actually. So your genetics, your DNA for your mitochondria, which determines your health, your well-being, your ability to perform, you actually inherit that through your mom, which is kind of interesting. And 200,000 years ago, we think about, one woman had, no judgment, multiple different partners, created a number of different children with a bunch of no judgments. 200,000 years ago, no such thing as marriage yet. And every single human on planet Earth shares their mitochondrial DNA traced back to one woman. She is known in science as mitochondrial Eve. Super interesting. So you actually inherit your mitochondria for your mom. So your fitness, you can thank your mother for it. That's Adam and Judith, my family. So anyway, I'm interested in mitochondria. And actually, when I started to think about this problem that everyone was faced with, I realized that for the last 20 years at Sick Kids, I've been studying mitochondria. So I'm a researcher at Sick Kids. I use MRI to look inside the body. Primarily, I study cystic fibrosis, a lung disease. And what I discovered about CF was that CF, lung disease, damages your mitochondria. It makes it very difficult for those children to move more and stay healthy. That was that block of research. I also did a lot of research on cancer, and specifically children's leukemia, which also, due to inflammation, damages mitochondria. So I actually realized I've been studying this for years. And the cool thing is that mitochondrial dysfunction is associated with almost every type of cancer. So super important. It's also associated with every single type of heart disease and cardiovascular disease. It's also involved in Alzheimer's, dementia. Any neurodegenerative disease in the brain is linked through mitochondria. It's also involved in mood and depression. And we know that that is absolutely massive. So simply, mitochondria are involved in every single type of chronic disease currently faced by humans. So it's kind of important. It gives us life. We get sick. It's largely involved in this, but it also enables us to do incredible things like climb mountains. It enables us to run. It enables us to ski. It enables us to do yoga. So anything physical is driven by our mitochondria. They create the energy that we use to move. Also, the energy that we use to think. And we look at this. These are neurons from inside of the brain, and those little highlights are all of the mitochondria. They're sprinkled everywhere. So when you think, you are using your mitochondria. They're super important. And so what I'm excited about right now is that mitochondria are the source of life. They're involved in every single chronic disease that we're faced with, including mental health, but they're hyper responsive to your lifestyle. So if we, which I've done, binge watched Netflix for an entire day, your mitochondria will deteriorate. Stranger Things was a great show, it was worth it. But they are also hyper responsive to positive things, going for a walk, doing some meditation, smiling at a loved one, getting out in sunlight. All of that sparks your mitochondria get better. So I'm infinitely hopeful that this might be a pathway scientifically driven to get us out of the feeling of languishing and floundering that so many of us are feeling right now.